Welcome to the latest episode of Claw's Corner. Today's guest is a true Renaissance man. He's a boxer, wrestler, mixed martial artist, promoter, and comedian. He is also a two-time guest on the Jerry Springer Show. He recently had his debut Keeping It Real comedy night for a sold-out crowd at the Tyra Club in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. He has the work ethic, dedication, and talent to earn the nickname The Real Deal. So without further ado, please welcome the multi-talented Joel The Real Deal Davis to the Claw's Corner. Joel, how the hell are you?
The Claw's Corner, man. Let's do it, yeah.
All right. So thank you very much for coming on the show.
Big Von Erich fan, I take it. Von Erich brothers in the world class.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man. That's a very historic team right there. The Fritz Von Erich, the father, and then you had David Von Erich, Kevin Von Erich, Kerry Von Erich, Chris Von Erich, and Mike Von Erich. Yeah, there was a lot of Von Erich brothers. They were great athletes. So you think of the Claw, but then you go back to Baron Von Raschke. You know, Van Raschke had the Claw, you know, so, but the Von Erich brothers are known for that. Yeah, man. I like the name of your podcast.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I got that. Well, the reason I got this nickname was because I have cerebral palsy. So when I was in high school, I got in a fight. And this was in the 80s. So somebody goes, oh, it's the Claw, it's the Claw. So that stuck with me. Then it was funny because in 1994, somewhere around there, Jim Carrey came out with a movie. He was doing the Claw. So back then, we're like, Jim Carrey's ripping you off. But when I started doing comedy, everybody's like, oh, come on. Jim Carrey did that. I said, no, I'm the original Claw. I was doing it long before he was. So I just, I loved it because it really worked out for me that, you know, you talk about what you know. And I've had cerebral palsy my whole life, and I got a chance to make fun of it, but in a way where people were like inspired by it as well. So it was a great combination.
I think that's awesome. And I actually heard about this because I caught you on a television show, Paul Sando's show. So I knew about this. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, good for you, brother. Whatever you got for me, shoot at me, man. Big stuff going on, man.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's talk about big stuff. I mentioned in the intro your debut Keeping It Real comedy night. How'd that go?
Yes. So this is exclusive for the Claw's Corner podcast. The debut just went down. You know, we're airing on Easter on midnight on April 20.
We're working out the dates on that. It was supposed to be April 20th, but there's some things going on. So I will definitely let our listeners know when it's going to be happening. But we'll promote the hell out of it. And you know what? I have to say, I'm going to get to this afterwards anyway, but we'll talk about it now. You are the master promoter. I love it. If you got something going on, everybody knows about it.
Well, man, you know, I started back in '99 promoting. That's what a lot of people don't realize. 1999, I started promoting sports collectible shows, trade nights with trade memorabilia, meet and greets with different athletes, Boston Bruins, New England Patriots, Red Sox, the Boston Red Sox, all different teams. And I was promoting back in '99, right up into 2009. So I had 10 years experience coming in, Rich, in promoting. So it's not my first rodeo, so to speak. People think that, I've been in comedy since November 1, 2022. So it's 2.5 years I've been hitting comedy hard, and I love it. It's my number one passion right now. Mm-hmm. But you got to remember, I got a past that I've worked on this promoting, so I'm bringing it to the table with comedy. I give it my all, you know. I figure give it your all, you don't go for it. You know, I want to go for it, you know.
Yeah, well, I want to talk about that too, because when I was doing comedy, I did it from 2013 to 2017, and I used to do the same thing as you, put on my own shows, benefits. I love the DIY thing, do it yourself, because I got a chance to perform who I want to perform with, have the comedians I like, just have a great time, form benefits. And I used to tell people, like, how do you get all these people to come to the show? Because every show I did, which is going to seem like, I guess it's going to be just like your shows when we get to what you're talking about, but every show that I did was bigger than the one before. And they're like, one time it was supposed to be at 7:00 and the people were already lined up at 5. Like, shit, we have to get some more help here. So I used to always say, it's like promoting is a completely different animal. It's one thing to get your act down, be funny. It's a completely other thing to get asses in the seats. And that takes a lot of talent.
It's a talent. It's talent. It's knowledge. It's a know-how of how to bring it to the table. And let me tell you something. You know, because you promoted yourself, there's so much extra curricular activity going on that people don't even realize, including drama and arrangements being switched last minute. Issues with money. Venues promising you the world, and then you get there and you find out it's not what they said it was. And it's like, you know, a lot of times when you're negotiating a deal, you know what I mean, Rich?
Oh,
you're
yeah.
negotiating a deal and they're just telling you what you want to hear.
Oh, yeah.
And when you actually seal the deal and we start talking about numbers, et cetera, oh, that changed, this changed, you know, and I'm an old school promoter. I'm sure you were the same way. I like to keep everything legit. I don't want any surprises.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if it's a surprise, I want to be happy about it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of happy surprises, you did have your debut last night, which right now it's April 13th when we're recording this. How'd it go?
It was just last night, man. Yeah, you heard it. You heard it went good. Yeah, it was sold out. I mean, that venue there, I'm estimating about 120 people.
Wow.
You know, about 100, 110, 120, maybe 130. But it was packed. You know, it was a packed venue. You know, there was a Woonsocket, Rhode Island. So this is I've been asked between you and I've been asked for multiple podcasts that I haven't really been able to book yet. This one here I wanted to definitely do, and I got a lot going on right now, you know. But this is an exclusive.
I love
Again,
it.
you let me know when this is going. Yes, you're gonna love this. This will be the exclusive about behind the scenes, what really happened, not what they said happened at the Keeping It Real comedy debut, man. Because there's two different stories, you know that. So Rich Sear, right here on the Claus podcast is getting the scoop. So everybody listening, this is going to be new information behind the scenes, what people want to know. 120, 130 people. It's a Tara Club, Roadie Elites. You know, all the comedians were there they got there in the time they're supposed to be there. Right off the bat, we were supposed to have a green room. We ended up having one curtain and 5 chairs in a corner with some food that was being cooked. I mean, right. As soon as I got there, I said, here we go.
That's funny.
And no disrespect, but you know, not the best neighborhood. I mean, I'm just being honest. I mean, I'm not trying to judge whatever, but nice people running this fundraiser. You know, Julio is a coach. His name's Julio. He's a coach for the football league out there. Good guy. I know his uncle very well. I know him very well. I knew his dad. I met his mom last night. They were all involved. Very, very family oriented. Very well. Believe me, I love the idea that I was able to bring them that fundraiser. They were very happy with it. The people that were helping basically produce the show. I mean, I did the producing, I did the promoting, but they were trying to, raise the money themselves down that way in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. I put together the whole show, as far as like comedians, the times, the fly, all that. But we had 5 comedians, including myself. Mm-hmm. We had Jonah Raposo, a mutual friend of ours, was the host. I mean, come on, what can you say? I mean, this lady's she's been around. She's trained in New York City. She knows how to handle the stage. She's always got the good energy. There's a lot of things I liked about her, and that's why I selected her for my host for my very first show. Because let's be honest, Rich, your first show is a big deal. Oh yeah. So she was my host. Carolyn Como was the featured comedian. Also had Polish Power Paul Kozlowski. Big fan of Ivan Putski back in the day, so we call him Polish Power. He was one of the comedians. He's really Polish. I don't know if he can do the hammer or not, but we didn't ask. And then we had a newcomer I don't know how new he is to comedy, but I didn't know of him, Michael Lapinio, who sent me a video. He sent me a video, Rich, 2 months ago. And I said, you know what? Give this guy a chance. And I put him on the show. Gave him some stage time. Stage time is very valuable. Oh, yeah. I gave everybody 12 to 15 minutes.
That's pretty good.
Plus 2 complimentary tickets each, plus a cash payday.
Wow.
I don't think everybody's doing that these days. I don't know. I mean, maybe you know what I mean. So I'm about giving people chances, and some people just need a chance. They said, "Hey, Joel, you're going to be promoting. You must be promoting everyone that you took a liking to over the last 2.5 years. It might be friends of yours." I'm like, bullshit. Mm-hmm. No, I am booking people that I believe that are interested, that are going to bring good energy, that have a talent, some kind of talent, and people that that sometimes just need a shot at it, and people that I do know, that I know, like Joanna, I knew of her. Yeah, we're not personal friends, we're casual friends, but I keep it with the name, Keeping It Real.
I
You get
love
what I'm
that.
saying? I'm sure
Yep.
you love that. And I'm glad you're probably the same way too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I laugh because you mentioned the pay. I remember when I was doing my shows, I had these comedians that were doing it for a couple of years, and they thought that they were, the veterans, which I think is funny because you've only been doing it 4 years. When you do it 25 years, then call yourself a veteran. But they're like, oh, don't be paying these new people. Then they're going to expect it. What are you talking about? We're all doing the same thing. We're all in it for fun. We're all trying to get stage time. We're all trying to get better. I said, I'm going to pay whoever's there. And Joanna is the best. I used to have her as the official MC. It used to be the Claus Corner Comedy Hour or something like that. And so I used to love having her as my host. I don't know how many different shows over the years, and she hosted pretty much every show. I just love, as you mentioned, I love her energy. I love her sense of humor. She's really good at, because to me, the host has the most important job. They're the ones that he has to keep the show going, keep the momentum going, and she is great at that.
She is, and and I'll be honest with you, and it's exclusive right here on the Claus podcast. Everyone's going to know for the first time, right here on the podcast, that show last night will be one they won't forget too soon.
Yeah.
Very unruly crowd. Not one heckler, many hecklers from the left, from the right, from the bar. I mean, they were hitting us left and right. And I'll be honest with you, Rich. If I didn't have four other comedians and myself being, experienced enough to deal and handle this, we would have been beat up and thrown out the door in there.
Yeah.
Everybody handled it very well.
Oh, good.
Everybody handled it very well. And the idea of that show, and I'm going to be straight with you. I keep it real. And if you don't, you'll find out soon. I will tell you, a lot of people in the building, they weren't there for comedy. They didn't really, how that goes. It reminded me almost like somewhat of a massive, huge open mic show.
Oh.
In a way. Don't get me wrong. So say there was 120 people. Let's explain. 120 people in the building. There was at 120, there may have been 30 of them at a 120 that really was attentive and wanted to, enjoy comedy. They just didn't want to have nothing to do with it. But that's their gig. They paid for their ticket. They came in. We still did our show. We did our time. Everyone gave it their all. All the comedians were above average as far as their sets of the prior that I've seen. So everybody was on the ball, but you had to be able to handle yourself up there. When I say, I don't know what you heard when I was there for the whole show, of course, watching everything. Yeah. And I will tell you, in 2.5 years, and it's still, 2.5 years, I've been very active in comedy. I've done New York City, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. Mm-hmm. So, I've seen a lot already in comedy to know what some crowds look like. And I'll be honest with you, this was the rowdiest crowd I've ever seen. Oh, yeah. By far. I'm sure you've seen these, Yeah,
well, that's the reason I grown, because I've been on those shows. And the worst times I ever had shows is when it was comedy and music. Because we did a show that was at a bar, and all people really cared about was the music. Then when the music was over, they would be at the bar talking. It's like, oh, there's comedy going on. And so I think for me, the best shows I ever had, besides being in like a real comedy club where people knew they were getting comedy, was the benefit shows. Because for the most part, they were there for a good cause, and they wanted to have fun. But sometimes I've been at restaurants where this woman was getting mad at me, and I realized after, I said, I'm not going to leave this stage until you start laughing. And I didn't realize until after, because she was in a wheelchair, and she got mad at me because I was I have cerebral palsy. I was making fun of myself, not anybody else. Anyway, so I found out later she thought it was going to be a magic act, and she was confused.
Well, shit. Hey, I guess she was confused. So she really wasn't mad at your comedy. She just wanted to see some magic. And you didn't pull a rabbit out of your hat, Rich. What's the matter with you? You should have did the claw and grabbed the rabbit off. Would have been happy. But honestly, you got to remember this show too. Another. As far as I'm learning as I go, like we all do. But I've noticed, I've been a promoter for over a decade in sports memorabilia, collectibles, and autograph guests. But comedy promoting. This was my first shot at it. But you've seen my style. I come in aggressive. Yeah. Okay, and I come in aggressive, and I that's the way I do it. And I knew the venue was going to be a little difficult right away. The round tables are tough because now you got people sitting this way, that way. They may not even turn their chair to watch the show. Mm-hmm. And you got to remember there was heavy drinking there last night, and there's food involved. I've been to some shows, people just stuffing. I wish they were stuffing their face. It would have been better. They'd be quiet. I never thought I'd want to see the audience eating like baby back ribs the whole time.
No.
I mean, I was thinking, I was like, why don't these people eat? So they just, I'd rather them stuff their face and not pay attention than being like, you know what I mean?
Oh, I know.
Because I'm going to make this point. I got to make this point right now. And I'm sure you'll agree with me. The most difficult obstacle for a stand-up comedian is it's a combination of loud talking and noise, banging. That can put you. I don't care how good you are. You can be a guy selling at the stadium. That is going to just interfere in your set.
Yep.
When you have loud talking, banging, everything else, that is so difficult. When you have the attention of the audience and it's quiet in that venue, you are more than halfway there, brother. And if you don't believe that, you better. That's the thing. 60% of it is having the audience being attentive, because laughing is contagious.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as exactly. But now you have people like last night. I was studying that audience the whole entire 90-minute show, and some people were almost intimidated to laugh because there was so much going on, and they were in combination of intimidated and distracted.
Yeah.
You follow what I'm saying? It was a tough show. Will I go back there again? Probably not. I'm just being honest.
It makes you a better comic in a way, because it teaches you how to handle. I think one of the best comebacks I've ever seen with a comedian was years ago when Andrew Dice Clay was at his prime. I saw him at Madison Square Garden. No, Radio City Music Hall, New York City, 1990, 1991, somewhere around there. And it doesn't matter who the comedian was. Could have been George Carlin. He would have been booed off stage. Dice was it. So all of a sudden, this guy gets up there. People are booing, hissing, Dice. The guy finally goes, "Hey, you want to see an asshole wrapped in plastic? Take out your license, you piece of shit." Turn the whole crowd around. For the rest of the show, he had them eating out of his hands.
That is great, and that is rare. That's a rare occurrence. Yeah. You know, my set last night, and I don't know if I send it to you, but I will send it to you. I'd always love your opinion on my. I'd like your opinion on my set, because you've been around the block. Yeah. But my set last night, when I actually watched it back, because I watch everything, because I'm studying the audience more than I'm studying what I'm doing, but I'm studying the audience and the reaction of what I hear. And I knew it was so rough, and I was a little bit down on myself after. But when I watched my set, I killed it, man. And I don't mean that in a cocky or arrogant way, but I'm confident about my work, and I worked hard at that show. I was writing material for 7-8 weeks to write. I cut my set down to 15 minutes, and I had 30 all day. I had 30. I've done 23 last year, headlining over here at District in Taunton, Mass. So I knew I had 23, 25, but I brought it up to, I knew I had 30 last night. I brought it down to 15, and I just said to the people, "Hey, listen, I'm getting paid anyways, man. You people want to do your thing." I'm like, I'm going to wrap it up right here. And, but it's what happened, Rich. I was so happy when I watched the video and I got my feedback today. I said, I feel better about it now, because it was still very successful. Yeah. But it's a show they won't forget too soon, Rich. You know what I'm talking. But you were right, and I'm glad. I was looking forward to talking to you tonight, because I've thought about it, and of course you get a little mentally, physically, and mostly exhausted after all that, and I was thinking about, I'm looking forward to the podcast, because I know Rich can relate. We're both comedians, and we're both promoters and producers. We can relate to each other. And I really, what I think about when I think about that show last night, when I actually drove back to Massachusetts, I got back down here, and then I started thinking about the set, and I watched the video of the set. And I thought about it. I says, damn, that's only going to make me a better comedian, because I handled that crowd, and it was tough. I mean, 2 minutes in, I had hecklers throwing some real bad, and I'm not going to even repeat what they were throwing at me. And I had to come back on them. I lost like half of that crowd right away. They wanted me, they didn't want to see me at that point. But the show still goes on.
Exactly. And if you could handle that crowd, that means you can handle any other crowd. So there's going to be some bad shows. There's going to be some okay shows. There's going to be some great shows. And
I want you to watch the video when you get a chance, please.
I'm going to, yeah.
If you're going to. And when you watch it, you're going to say, "Oh, yeah. No, Joel's not exaggerating." When you see it, you won't believe it.
I can't wait to see it.
So you got some questions, brother?
No, I definitely do. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit more about that show, but I wanted to say that I think that how many shows have you done so far? You've done 3 different states. You said
that promoting. That was my first show promoting.
Yep.
I started November 1, 2022 at an open mic show in Johnson, Rhode Island.
Yeah.
That was my first show. It was an open mic show for the Parada Comedy Factory.
Love John Brad. I worked with him at Comedy Connection years ago.
Yep, John has been around. I mean, what can you say about the guy? He's been around the block. He's talking about giving people a break. He's given a lot of opportunities. I started with Parada right away. I'll tell you a quick story. It's kind of funny that no one really knows. Probably only maybe Stephen DiNuccio, and maybe John Parada. It's something that I've never really told anyone the story about it. But when I found out about the open mic, I called John Parada directly. And I said, my name's Joel Davis. I went by the real deal Joel Davis, a professional wrestler. I'm trained by Killer Kowalski. Gave him a real quick, message. I'm like, listen, I'm a former pro wrestler and a 2-time Jerry Springer guest. I'd like to get, I always want to do comedy. He said, and so he messaged me. He got right back to me the same night.
Yep.
And he didn't know who I was. And he was nice enough to get back to me through a text message. And he says, you need to contact Steve DiNuccio. I contacted Steve DiNuccio the next morning. And I was on a show within a day or two, November 1st, 2022. December 15th, 2022, I was on a show that was a paid ticket show. So John said, you got a lot of potential. Because you gotta remember, I was in professional wrestling. I went up, tried out for commercials. I've done some theater. I've done a lot of different things that people don't realize. So it's all connected with stand-up.
Yep. Oh yeah, I agree. It's all a little bit of theater.
A little bit of theater. So that's when I started. But promoting, last night was the first show. I have a show the 24th of April, 25th of April, back-to-backs, Thursday and a Friday.
Yep.
Thursday at the Mascarados Bar and Grill in Cranston, Rhode Island. We're going to be there on a Thursday night, the Margarita Specials. That's an 8 o'clock show, the Thursday night, 24th. And then the 25th, we're going to be in Attleboro, Mass. at a dinner and comedy show at the Sweet House at Attleboro, Mass. So those will be that. So my first promoting show was last night. Well, I don't know if it's going to air, but it was April 12, and then April 24, April 25, all promoting shows, and I'll also work those shows. But as far as like doing stand-up, I've done a lot. I've done a lot of open mics. I've done a lot of bringers, like everybody.
Oh, yeah.
I did the Rodney Dangerfield Club in New York. That was a rush. So yeah, I love it. I love the journey, man. I love it.
Oh, yeah. What's your best club that you've played at so far? The biggest? Rodney?
Rodney. Not even nowhere closer than Rodney. I mean, for me, this bringer shows out in Connecticut. I've done Mohegan Sun. I mean, that's a nice place to do. The Comic Roadhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got a funny story. So it's the first time I did Comic Roadhouse at Connecticut. I'll fast forward the story for you because I know we only have so much time. But I hired a designated driver, and I wanted to have a few beers, and I said I'll hire a driver. So I paid this person to drive up, drive back, gave this person a hotel room on me, paid for the hotel room, food, drink. I mean, he had a cushy job, this driver, right? He ends up getting drunk, bringing me to the show. My designated driver. Hits the curb, blows out the tire, rolls into the parking lot, Mohegan Sun, and gets arrested by the tribal police.
Oh, my.
I get up on stage, it frazzles you up a bit, man. I'm like, I almost died in a freaking car an hour ago.
That's
my
funny.
in jail downstairs, something like, like the Planet of the Apes or something in the basement. I don't even know how I'm going to get home. And here I am, like, okay, Joel Davis, you're up, So yeah, when I did I did Mohegan Sun. But the biggest club, Rodney Dangerfield Club, New York.
Yeah. Well, I think you heard on Paul Santos. My favorite show was with Jeff Ross when he had me do like 10, 15 minutes of my act in front of zany, sold out crowd in Nashville. I love that one.
Yes, that's right. I heard you talk about that. I watched you on Paul Santos.
Yeah. But
People don't realize I'm watching everything going on. I'm watching everything going on. That's how you learn too, man.
No,
exactly. And you know what? I never, ever, ever, ever hate on anyone. I think I love it. I love seeing people being successful and doing their thing. And I'm not a clique person. I don't get into cliques. I don't kiss ass. But I'm always gonna I like to see people do well, and I think that comes back to you after, in comedy or whatever entertainment field that you're in. And let's be honest, it's not like that with everybody.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because I'm in Connecticut, and Connecticut is was years ago, very, very cliquey. And it was so funny how the jealousy, people would say, oh, how did that guy get that show? I'm better than him. I said, he didn't get the last spot. why don't you try to do a little bit better and you can get that spot too. But there was for just like you, I was always happy, always trying to help promote people, and everybody was so grateful. Like, oh man, you're gonna have me on the show, you're gonna pay me, thank you so much. And then that would work out. We're like, hey, you want to be on my show? And then I made friends over in Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine. I played in. I did New Jersey, New York. 9 different states. I was all over the place, and it's all about networking, and it was just all about, just like you. I never got jealous. I never got mad at somebody's success.
Yep.
I said, you know what? I am so happy for you.
Yep.
And then, like, really? They were so surprised that somebody was actually
They were.
happy. It was so cutthroat. And I found out going to other states, they were a lot more welcoming. Connecticut at the time was very, very cliquey, and I said, I don't want anything to do with these people.
100% agree.
Yeah.
This is exactly the reason why I have decided that I'm moving on soon. I'm not staying in Rhode Island and Massachusetts that much longer.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, if you're not in, I don't want to piss anyone off. But then again, I mean, if I do, what can I tell you? But I'm saying there's a lot of clicks out this way too.
Oh, yeah.
You got to do this, you got to do that, or you won't get booked. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, you and I are not mute and deaf. You know what I mean? I mean, we see what's going on. I mean, you got, if you're booking for talent or dedication or dependability, you're not doing it that way. A lot of these promoters, they're booking it by who they owe a favor to, or whatever. But we're not going to get into all that.
Yeah.
Jazz. Let's talk about what we're talking about.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to talk about, before we move on to some of the other things you did, I want to talk about your comedic influences. Who are some of your favorite comedians growing up that brought you to where you are right now?
Well, that's a great question. And, to be honest with you, Rich, that's just to give credit to you as a podcaster now and having this show now since 2019, 6 years, a pretty damn good run in podcasting, because I know some don't last 6 months.
Oh,
so 6 years. So that's a great question. And I've done multiple interviews, regarding stand-up comedy in the last 2.5 years. I'm not saying a ton, but I've done 5, 6, 7 podcasts so far. No one's asked me that question directly like that. But I'll tell you what, I absolutely love, and I'm going to tell you more recent, and then if you don't mind, and then back when I was a child. Is that cool?
Oh, most definitely. That was my next question, so that's perfect. Great.
I love Bill Murray as an actor, as an actor, and I know he wasn't a stand-up, but as an actor. John Candy, another actor. Comedian Richard Pryor.
Yes.
John Candy and Bill Murray as actors in comedy. Incredible. Gene Wilder, incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Richard Pryor, stand-up, absolutely incredible. But another comedian that I love, and people should do themselves a favor and watch it on YouTube, his seminar he did before he passed away to untimely death, Ralphie May.
Oh, yeah. Nope, I know exactly who he is, and I've seen him, not in person, but I've seen videos of him, and I know his act.
I would have loved to meet that man. And that man was a genius, and he was like you and I. You could tell he wanted people to succeed.
Oh, yeah.
You just tell the way he did a seminar at the Comedy Store in California, and it's on YouTube. And I've watched it 2 or 3 times, and you could just see. You can tell by people the way they talk and everything else. You can tell. I can, anyways. Their actions, their body language. And Ralphie May was about trying to help people get in, and he was blunt. He just said it the way it was. I love that. And what a comedian Ralphie May was. So I would put Ralphie May in there with Richard Pryor as my 2 favorites.
Yeah. For me, well, I love Richard Pryor live in concert. It's one of the all-time best comedy hours I've seen. But for me, because I'm a little bit older than you, I'm 57. So I grew up listening to the records of George Carlin with my father. And then when he took us, my brothers and I, to see George Carlin in concert. Then as I get older, I'd see him by myself. So I saw him from 1982 or 83 all the way up into 2008 when he died. Every time he'd come to the Connecticut or Rhode Island or Massachusetts, wherever he was, I'd say, let me check out George Carlin. But yeah, I never saw Pryor in concert, but he is definitely one of my all-time favorites. I think for current, it's got to be a New York comedian, which I actually did do one show with him. His name is Mark Normand. I'm not sure if you ever...
Yeah, I know who he is. I like that guy.
He is hilarious.
I like that guy. I like Mark Normand. And I'm going to tell you something that Mark Normand... It's funny you said that. Mark Normand, where is he residing right now? Any idea?
Last I heard, he was still in New York.
Oh, he's in New York. Okay,
yeah.
But he does a lot. He does a lot in Texas. He Killed Tony show with Tony Hinchcliffe. Tony Hinchcliffe, an absolute genius, by the way. But I will have to say, Mark Norman said something on a podcast, and when I tell you this, Rich, you're going to say, yeah, yeah. He was interviewed, Mark Norman. I just seen this like last week, and I got a new respect for him. The way Mark Norman was being interviewed, and he's one of your top favorites. So you'll like this. And they interview Mark Norman, and they talk about like comedians and the open mics and trying to get a break and moving up and et cetera, et cetera. And Mark Norman describes it so on key, like, oh, you hit the nail on the head. Mark Norman says like this, Rich. He says, it's like we're all sinking. All the open micers are sinking, and you don't want to help them because you might sink with them. Isn't it true? I mean, in so many words, that's what he was saying.
Yeah.
I was like, Mark Norman, I got more respect for you because it's so true. Not many comedians. I mean, I was in professional wrestling 18 years, and that was cutthroat. Stand-up comedy, they'll cut your throat and cut your arms off. I mean, no one wants to help you. You know how many bookings that these other people told me I was going to be on? These phantom bookings. Mm-hmm. And then the regular excuse when I ask, hey, I thought I was going to be on a show with you. Or I thought I was going to be on a show with you. I seen the show going on, man. You said you're going to book me. I mean, I asked, because I have my notes and I follow up. And always I hear this. Oh, show got canceled. Show got canceled. No, yeah. And it didn't get canceled. I seen the advertisement in the post after. It didn't get canceled.
Oh my God.
Is that funny?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's true. Everyone's out for themselves in comedy. You're very rarely going to get anyone to help you out. That's why when I started the promotion, when I brought in Joanna Raposa and Jimmy Smalls, he's going to be on the shows coming up, Paul Kwasowski, Dave Prondo, I could go on and on. I mixed up all my shows. I don't know if you see my posters, Rich. All different types of people, females, males, different nationalities, creeds. It didn't matter. I mixed them up purposely like that. And I gave people chances that I had never even met in person before because they sent me their video. The 24th and 25th, I have a comedian coming from Los Angeles, California.
Wow.
He's got a deal. He flies for free. He's got family that works for American Airlines, so he flies for free. And he's a real go-getter. And we spoke on the phone, and we negotiated a deal. He's going to get compensated, of course. But it's not huge money, but he wants it. So he's coming in from L.A. So I'm just trying to bring a different show, not the average same show that you see the same comedians.
Yeah.
Which ain't nothing wrong with that either. But I'm just saying, I think variety is a spice of life.
And no, I agree with it. For me, it was as I did so many different open mics, so many different shows all over 9 different states. I met so many different people. And it was funny because I went to a couple of comedy shows just to watch the comedy. And this is where one of the times I met Mark Norman. He was going to do the show, but unfortunately, he goes, Rich, I'm not trying to be an asshole, but if I get a show with more money, I got to go. I said, no problem. But there was another guy, Luis Gomez is his name. He's part of that Mark Norman group where they all hang out together. And he goes, yeah. And I was laughing when he said it. He goes, just because you had the balls to ask me, I'm going to do your show. I really didn't realize it took balls to ask you to do a show, but thank you very much. And he was a great comedian, had a great time there. So I always, when people say, oh no, they're going to say no. Unless you ask, how do you know? And what's the worst that they're going to say? No? Who cares? You walk away and say thanks anyway. But it's just, I did the same thing as you did. Well, yeah,
so you went out. Yeah, you went out to like you just spoke about asking Mark Norman to do your show, right? So this comedian's an upstart, but he's working with comedians like Tom Arnold right now. Wow. He's in California, man. I mean, listen, I'm just trying to say, hey, listen, let me give you a shot out here in New England because everybody wants to use just their local talent, you know. So he's coming in for those 2 shows. But so you met Mark Mark personally. Nice guy, I take it, huh?
Nice guy, really nice guy, and really down to earth, and he's hilarious. And it's so funny because he sometimes you get these comedians that are so full of themselves. His insecurities are like he just wears them on his sleeve. He just say, how can you be insecure? He's like, so not that he's successful. He's not big time, but yeah, but he is like I know not that podcast in particular, but I've seen so many different podcasts, and I love his interviews, and I just love his personality. But that's exactly who he is. There's no air about him. There's no arrogance about him. Really cool guy and hilarious.
That's great. Yeah, man. Yeah. So I'm promoting that. I'm promoting. How long is it going to go? We don't know. I tell the comedians, we have these shows booked up. We have 7 shows solid. And we have a possibility of running throughout the summer on Friday nights, outdoor shows I've put together. A lot of work. I don't have to tell you, it's a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of extras, a lot of extracurricular activity, like I said at the time. And then at one point, you got to say these, it weighs a little bit. You got to weigh it out and say, really, is this what I want to do? I mean, I'm not getting any younger. I'm into my 50s like yourself right now. But I got some years that I can do something. I want to do it. And I'm concentrating on Joel Davis, the comedian, the real and raw Joel Davis, the comedian. And some people ask me, I was even talking to right last night when this is taping, it was April 12th was last night. I know we're taping the 13th. We're going to go premiere down the road. But last night I was just telling the comedians, I was like, if someone asks you, about being a comedian and what helps you along or whatever, it's just pretty basic. It's like, just as long as you've had like a lot of dark days in your life, right? If you had a lot of dark days in your life and a lot of experiences that most people don't have, and you're a little like cuckoo, like a little crazy,
yeah,
you're all set, man. You might be able to do it. But if you're really like sane and by the book, and you've had the gold spoon in your mouth, bro or lady, you ain't gonna make it as a comedian. Every comedian, even you're at any level, it has that. And you know what I mean? I'm not saying we're all degenerates by no means, but we're all unique people. Mm-hmm. And that's what I tell people. So so I want to concentrate on my character. The one-legged woo-woo. I've had people even in California say, Joel, what's the one? Barry Katz. He's an agent out of California. Barry Katz. He was with Chris Rock, big name. Mm-hmm. We did a Zoom, like a seminar Zoom. I tried that. I've been trying different things to learn, right?
Yeah.
And Barry Katz says, we got Joel Davis here, former pro wrestler. He's in comedy now. He says, I'm going to call you out. This is Barry Katz, the manager that brought Chris Rock in, right? Yeah. So this guy's a big-time agent, Barry Katz. And this was about a year ago, and it's like 30 comedians across the country, and they're all listening. He says, Joel, this is Barry Katz, right? He says, I'd ask you, what the hell is that one-legged woo-woo? There's no reason to be doing it. I said, it's my persona. It's what I do.
Yeah.
And you know what? People love it. I'm not changing it. The only way I'm changing it is if I get a big break down the road and some big promoter or somebody says to me, Rich, just say it, and it can happen. Say, I make it big. And they say, we don't need that one-legged woo-woo. It'll be gone. Yeah. But until then, we're going to keep hearing it and seeing it.
And I hope you do, because that is you. That's original. That's your style. That's your trademark. So there's no reason to get rid of it, just because. That's why I always tell people, when somebody say, like, somebody would be crushed after a set, and I said, you know what? They laughed last night. They're gonna laugh tomorrow. Fuck this time. Don't let it get to you. It's not like you're gonna walk off stage and drop dead. Life goes on. Just brush it off and go on to your next set. So I mean, so many people would be so devastated over like one bad word or somebody telling you shouldn't be doing that anymore, and they would stop doing it. It's like, no, that's what. I'll give you an example really quick about me, because a lot of my jokes are, like I said, about my cerebral palsy and things like that. And somebody goes, well, you should make your comedy more generic. You get more shows. I'm like, fuck that. I said, I'd rather have a rabid, smaller audience that love me, the Caucasians or the Syrians. My last name is CYR, so I used to say the Syrians or the Caucasians. And I said, I'd rather have that than all these people going, what'd you think of Rich Sayre? Which one was he? I can't remember. I'd rather have either they hate me or they love me, but apathy is the worst. So I said, I know it's funny. I like what I do is funny. I'm going to stick with what I like. And it works.
Be authentic.
Yeah,
Authentic's going to win all the time. I'll never change my style. Like I said, as the time goes on, and in this journey in stand-up comedy, Rich, we don't know what's next. You don't know what's next. You never know. It's sometimes right place, right time. You never know what's going to happen. You don't, like I told the comedians last night. You never know who's in the audience. You never know what's going to happen. Oh yeah. But keep it real. As far as I'm concerned, I think being authentic and real life experience. I have so many experiences in my life as a child up and through being an adult that have been like just crazy stories that I've lived. I mean, you don't know this, but I've worked with mentally ill. I was an MHW for 3 years. I took care of the mentally ill for 3 years. I worked a methadone clinic with a drug addiction for 4 years. I mean, I did a lot of different, those jobs, you see a lot and hear a lot, and they're not easy like agendas. So, but it brings, it gets your mind going. Like, it's like last night, on that show last night, I was freaking rolling. And I was looking at the crowd, and the deal is I didn't want to be hated, but then again, I didn't want to be stomped on. Again, going back to hecklers and an unruly crowd, like you said, that woman that was there for the magic show and Rich wasn't pulling any rabbits out of a hat, she was pissed at you.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Last night, they just didn't like me. I come out, I don't know if you see me there. I'm pretty confident. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you see me on the stage.
I
I strut, man, because I know who I am. I mean, I've done a lot in life, man. I mean, hey, so some of it, who's this guy? And if they don't know me and know that I'm actually a modest, laid back guy, caring guy that likes to help people, and I'm really not all that character that you see. The persona is magnified times 10 on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it also makes a great comedian. And it's funny because I talk to a lot of musicians, authors, and other creative people, and I ask them the same question, and what you brought it up in comedy too. I said sometimes your darkest moments is when you have your most creative moments, like an author, and same thing with comedian. You said and that's what makes a great comedian is bringing out all the dark things in life and making it funny so other people can relate to it, and they're like, you know what? I'm not alone there, which is funny because this is what I want to get into next because I went from stand-up comedian to motivational speaker. You went from motivational speaker to stand-up comedian. So you and I have both done the same thing.
That's right.
I know we're running on limited time, but I want to talk about you as a motivational speaker and how you got into that.
Yeah, so I was a motivational speaker for 4 years, and I got into that, out this way, out this part where I'm from here, south of Boston here in this area. And I'm just trying to think back on how it. So the first actual subject was staying fit and living your dream. So what I did is I basically offered this to different establishments, like public libraries, the YMCA, churches, and that started off. Yeah, so I was doing staying fit, living your dream. So I would go in. It would be a one hour at a time. And then, staying fit, living your dream was basically it was mostly a children audience, and I would talk to them about staying away from drugs and what to do to stay fit. I'd bring my boxing gloves. I'd show them a couple combinations, with the boxing gloves. Talk a little bit about my professional wrestling career, my MMA career, what I did and how I grew up with scoliosis and asthma, being brought up by a single parent. Trying to explain you can do this too. I mean, scoliosis and asthmatic and being in a tent when you're 5 years old and almost being dead. That was my life growing up. And I was so much of an underdog. So I try to show them, look, I'm a Hall of Famer in pro wrestling. Look, I've been in the ring with some so I try to teach these kids that were 5, 6 younger kids, you can do it too. So that was that motivation speaking, staying fit, living your dream. So living your dream about telling children you can do whatever you want to do if you put your mind to it, and staying fit was kind of like showing them through exercises, stay away from drugs, etc. Then I moved on to anti-bullying and self-defense. Mm-hmm. So I would show them different techniques, how to get out of a choke and but then that moved up to senior citizens. So I was talking to children 5 years old to adults 95 years old. So I did that. I did some churches. I was up the church over there. Did one of those motivation speaking appearances. Yeah, it was a church, and I talked about anti-bullying on how to try to stay away from being bullied, and if you are bullied or if you're physically attacked, how to take care of that problem or address that issue. Yeah, so I did that, but that's what I did. I already did it. People say, Joel, they still say it to me, Joel, you're a great motivation. Like, no, I'm a stand-up comedian. No, I'm not going backwards. I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want it.
I don't blame it. That's like exactly what I've done. Like going from comedian to motivational speaker to author to podcaster to the other radio shows. So yeah, it's just like when something and people say, why do you do all these things? I'm like, why not? I have the time. I have many interests. There's nothing stopping me. But getting back to the motivational speaking, the anti-bullying, because now it's really prevalent is, what do you think's more harmful, cyberbullying or physical bullying?
More harmful? Well, I think mentally cyberbullying is going
Yeah.
to be mentally. It's going to mentally it can and it can and then cyberbullying can have more longevity to it
Yeah.
because now it's on social media and it can be read time and time again, 6 months, a year, two, and people really don't know what to believe because anyone can say anything. You know, they can make up a fake name on, say, Facebook and start their cyberbullying just because they have an issue with that individual for whatever reason. So cyberbullying, I believe, is more dangerous and have more longevity mentally and emotionally, and it can make that victim more depressed because of seeing this, especially when a lot of times it's not even true information that these people are putting up there. Physically, it's physically is still something that can be traumatic to someone too. But if it's an injury, you can heal from the injury and maybe think back at it. But they're both pretty freaking bad. I mean, but I'm just saying,
Yeah. No, well, that's exactly what I was going to say, is because, somebody will, as you said, the physical pain. I mean, unless they really, take a baseball bat to you or a crowbar, and then you're going to be in pain for us. But I mean, the mental anguish that's going to go on, and people are going to think, and eventually people are going to be thinking over and over again, and then they'll have suicidal thoughts. So yeah, they're both really bad. But I think in the long run, my personal opinion would be the cyberbullying. Now, the way technology is makes it easier for kids to be bullied that way. And it's like, back in our day, you throw a kid in the locker and then leave him there for a couple hours, and then no, you miss lunch. But now it's definitely a lot worse. So for you though, I didn't realize you and I are close to the same age, maybe a couple years younger than me. Who are some of the people that inspire you?
As far as what?
Like for me, I was giving an example. I not too long ago, around 2020, around COVID time, I put on a lot of weight, and I said, you know what, I need to get back into shape. I need to get back, start going to the gym. So back then, and I still like listening to them, are like David Goggins and Jocko Willink. So
you're talking about inspiring through motivation speaking?
Yeah, well, not even just inspire an inspiration for you in life. It doesn't have to be for motivational speaking.
Yeah. So I would say Hugh Hefner from Playboy.
He's an inspiration to everybody.
As far as inspiration, otherwise, I really don't. I'm just honest. I don't really have anyone. I pray to God. I'm not talking religion, but I mean, that's it. I just try to. I don't really have any. As far as comedy, I have people. But as far as like the motivation speaking, I can't really think of anyone that inspires me. I think anyone with any kind of physical handicap, and I see them getting through. I'm not saying that because of your situation. I'm saying in general, I see that and I say, geez, people think they got it bad. Some people can't even walk.
Oh yeah.
So that inspires me. Yeah, there's your answer.
Well, what's funny for me? It's like I was born with this, so I didn't know any other way. So for me, I grew up I think if this happened to me, like when I was 20 years old, my life would be completely different. Because maybe I would have been right-handed, and then I wouldn't be able to use my right side anymore. But since I didn't know any other way, half the time, besides all the jokes I make about it, because I have a great sense of humor about that, I completely forget about it. And I'll give you an example. And even when I was in school, when kids are at their meanest, I was in 4th grade. I was going for an operation on my leg, and I said, "I'm going to the hospital." They said, "For what?" That's my leg. "What's wrong with your leg?" Like, "Oh my God, I forgot." Like, this is bad, kids in 4th grade, because I completely forgot about it. I didn't act like I had a disability. Nobody even really thought about it like that. So when people say, like, not really anymore, but when I was a kid, they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry." It's like, there's nothing to be sorry about with me anyway. I'm doing very well, and nothing has ever stopped me. And it's funny because that's one of the reasons how I got into motivational speaking. Because when I was doing comedy, somebody says, "You'd be a huge inspiration to my students," and I started doing that because like, I don't all the things you do. Because so many people, I guess a lot of the students were using excuses because of their situation. And you got to talk to Rich. Rich is proving that you could do anything you want.
Sometimes people like you are the strongest people around as far as it comes mentally, mental, stability and being able to focus and get dreams done. That's what you've done. And like I said, I grew up with asthma and scoliosis, both going on at once. So being an athlete and doing anything athleticism was out of the question. But as for you, just so you know, when I seen your podcast, when I'd seen that great interview you did with Joanna Raposa, I had no idea about this. You know what I mean? And then the only time I found out was when you said it on Paul Santos. So you're doing a great job, brother. Just keep it
Thank
going.
you. I appreciate that. So,
what do you got for me, man? You got 15 more minutes with me.
all right, 15 more minutes. Let's make it count. I want to talk about the wrestling years. So let's talk about what year did you start wrestling?
1991. Yep,
1991.
1991. Yep. So I got up there in I was up to I trained with Killer Kowalski, Walter Killer Kowalski in Malden, Massachusetts, and he had his school up there in Malden on Pleasant Street. I went up there on February 5th, 91. That was the date I went up.
Wow.
Actually, February 5th, 91 is when I started training with Kowalski. I went up late 1990, and I met with Richard Byrne, superstar Richard Byrne, who's since deceased. And he had said that Walter Kowalski wasn't in the building that night. So I drove all the way up there, all ready to go. You know, I was 20 turning 21. Yeah, 20 turning 21 years old, or 21 turning 22 rather. And I was, young guy, it was my dream. I went up there. I was so disappointed that Walter wasn't. I went back up again about 4 weeks later, 6 weeks later. And that was like in January 1991. February 5th, 91, I brought $1,500 to Kowalski. It was $1,500 to join at the time. And I started training. When I started training, I mean, that was like, I was in the class of classes. Triple H was in class. Hunter S. Helmsley was in there. Paul Levesque, he was in the same class I was. We were all training at the same time. Perry Satin was in the same class, who was part of the Eliminators. Perry Satin. Also, Joni Laura, China, was in that class. So I came up with a great class, Flying Bill Wilcox, Freight Train Fulton. These are names that were, even bigger names in the 90s, and some that went on to superstardom like Triple H. So 1991, February 5th, and then October 25, 91, I debuted for IWCCW. That was when World Class merged with ICW. ICW is out of Parsippany, New Jersey. World Class was the Von Erich brothers in Texas. The Savoldis bought out the World Class, and they become IWCCW, International World Class Championship Wrestling. I debuted with them. And the night I debuted was the main event was Coco Beware the Birdman versus Kevin Sullivan, the Taskmaster. And Tommy Dreamer was on that card from ECW. And also on that same card when I debuted was Tommy Dreamer, Boston Bad Boy Tony Rumble was there. And Big City Mike was there. He was a big name down there at the time. And I actually went against the Irish Farm Boy Tubby Muffet. It was in Laconia, New Hampshire. It was the third match. He was like a modern day Haystack Calhoun.
I love it.
He was like 6'3", 400 plus. And I came in at like, I don't know what I was weighing, a couple hundred if I was lucky, not even, probably 180 at the time. And I got squashed in that. That was my debut, but that was for Sports Channel America. So that my career started October 25, 91.
It's funny because I grew up in the 80s watching wrestling, but back then they used to have it at the schools, the gymnasiums. And the gymnasiums, you'll never believe some of the people that I've seen there. Hulk Hogan, Sergeant Slaughter, Roddy Piper, Tony Garea, Rick Martel, Dr. Fuji, Andre the Giant, Samoan Brothers, Superfly Jimmy Snuka, George the Animal Steel, King Kong Bundy, Lou Albano, Jerry Lawler. I mean, so many great people, and I'm laughing because years later, you see him on network TV and these big wrestling stars, especially Hulk Hogan at the time. Like he was just, I think he lost the quick draw Rick McGraw from what I remember. He was not the favorite then. It was like 1983, maybe even before that. It was really early. But I had so much fun doing that. I'm not sure what league he's in. I have a friend who does wrestling. His name is Ron Zombie. Have you ever wrestled him? Do you know him?
I've wrestled Ron Zombie.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Ron's a good guy. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Ron still is. He's still in the circuit. Yeah, I know Ron. I've been. He knows me. He knows me. Yeah, we know each other. Actually, I'll tell you Ron Zombie quick story. Because he's a friend of yours.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll like this. You know me now. Okay.
Yes. Now, you're a friend also. So.
Yeah, Ron Zombie, and he'll remember this too. I know he's going to remember this. We're wrestling for the National Wrestling Alliance. Okay, he was and I was. He was just coming in. He's a little behind. He's still going now, but I'd already been in for a few years, and he come in, and he was part of a 6-man tag team with Curtis Slam Dog and Jay Gillette. It was Jay Gillette, yeah, Jay Gillette, and it was Curtis Slam Dog and Ron Zombie was a 3-man team versus myself, Gino Martino, and a guy named Gilmore. So we were the faces, you know what that term is. We were the good guys. Myself, the real deal Joe Davis, Gilmore, and we had Gino Martino, legit extreme strongman that would break center blocks with his head, and Gino Martino. So we were the 3-man team versus Ron Zombie, right? Curtis Slam Dog and Jay Gillette. Now get this. Zombie and his team were managed by Jim Cornette.
Mm-hmm.
So Ron will remember this match, and we were on the opposite sides. Our manager was Captain Lou Albano.
Ah.
So they get introduced. Ron and his team gets introduced, and I'm on the other team, right?
Yeah.
And they're out there with Jim Cornette, and we come out, and Albano starts coming out like this with us, and we're getting introduced. And as we get introduced, and the other team, the real deal, Joel Davis, managed by Captain a little bit, and Albano went like this, and he took a right, and he went back to the locker room, never came out. Albano was supposed to save me. Zombie hit me in the back, and Zombie hit me with the forearm. I turned around, and Jim Cornette whacked me with the tennis racket. Albano was in the back drinking beer. That's a true story. And then I got pinned.
That is hilarious. I got to talk to Ron about that one.
That's Ron. Say, Ron, I had Joe Davis on. I put that 6-man when Albano didn't come out and Cornette hit him. He's going to start laughing. Tell Ron I said hi.
Oh, I definitely will. Did you guys ever rehearse before a match just to let each
I
other know
what the? I don't rehearse shit.
Okay.
I don't rehearse shit. We know the finish. That's it. We know the finish.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. So you know the finish, but you still know how to get there.
Yep. You don't know. Yep. I got to remember, I was 91 through 2003.
Yep.
91 through 2003. Almost every weekend I was on the circuit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was in New York. I was in Kentucky, working in Kentucky. Jerry King Law, Superstar Bill Dundee. I don't know if you know that. I worked for Mountain Wrestling down there. I was up and down in the 90s. Yeah. And I went right up to 2003. In 2003, I retired. I had a busted tailbone. I had my ankle had been busted up. 2003 was a different time era. I mean, I had my daughter in 2005. I was going to get married. You know, it was a whole different era. I retired prematurely at 2003, but I came back in 2009 and ran from 2009 to 2014. That's when I became an MMA cage fighter. I started cage fighting at the same time, so I was doing both pro wrestling and cage fighting, and I was in my early 40s already. Wow. But I was still doing it because that was my dream. I wanted to do both, and I did that. So I had that run. But you got to remember, my best era in pro wrestling was 91 through 2003. The 90s was a hotbed for pro wrestling. No one was rehearsing. No one was talking. It's not like it is today. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Then, you know. So, yeah.
To me, my personal opinion, it's more like a soap opera now. It's where it's too scripted for me. I love the old wrestling, like I said, back in the 80s and 90s. That's when I used to love watching it. So, but I really don't pay attention to what's happening now. But that's why I was wondering. Like, I know you know the end, but getting there, that's the fun part because. Where'd this chair come from? Wait, where'd Lou Albano go? It's like, it's all a surprise. You have no idea what's going on. It's great.
Man, you and I could do like a marathon 4-hour interview and we still wouldn't cover everything in pride. You don't even know what I've been through, brother.
Oh, well, you know what? We're definitely
It's a lot of years, my man. It's a lot of years, Rich. You know, but I wanted to give you a little bit on this podcast about it. Yeah, I mean, I could go on and on, but pro wrestling is a very interesting business/sport, and it was a lot different in the 90s. And Ron will tell you the same thing. You're friends with Ron, he'll tell you the same thing. But it's a great question that you had. But yeah, things have changed. I mean, I was fortunate enough to be in the ring looking across at some greats like Superfly Jimmy Snuka.
Oh yeah.
King Kong Bundy.
Yeah.
I mean, these are big names that I actually had, you know, the privilege to get in the ring with back in the day, you know, on you know, it's hey, listen, I got no regrets, man. I'm just chasing my stand-up comedy right now, you know.
Yeah,
People ask me about the pro wrestling a lot. I actually use a little pro wrestling material in my last set last night. I use a little bit, you know, but I got so much more, you know. So
well, I know you have to go pretty soon, so I won't keep you long, but I definitely have to have you back on the show because I just scratched the surface. There's so many other questions I had ready for you, so many other things I wanted to talk to you about. So one last question, and then we'll end it, and then we'll set a new date, and I'll let you know exactly when this is going to air so we can promote the hell out of it. How did you get the name The Real Deal?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, so I was 91, I got out of training out of Kowalski's, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 91, I get out of training. I debuted October 25, 1991 in Laconia, New Hampshire, IWCCW. We talked about that on your podcast earlier. And after that debut, what happened was I ended up going from, believe it or not, Laconia, New Hampshire to Bowling Green, Kentucky. So I went from New Hampshire right up to Kentucky. So I worked out in Kentucky in the months of November, December of 91. And I was being trained by superstar Bill Dundee. Do you know that name?
I've heard
I'm
the
impressed
name.
that you know it because he feuded with Jerry the King Lawler. He's a big name down there. And I lived with Jamie Ice Baby Dundee, who was part of PG-13. He was also part of Nation Domination in WWF,
Yep.
Jamie Dundee. And that's another story for another day. So I lived with it. So I had a real quick start, just like comedy. I got in real quick and went all into it, And when I got back into Massachusetts, when I came back to New England, it was in February. I think it was February 91, November, December. I'm trying to give you the accurate answer here. I came back early. It was early 1992. Early 92. I think it was January 92. When I came back, I was working out here in this area in New England, and I just got back from Kentucky. I did the IWCCW, and I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready to come back to. And people like Joel Davis, they know him a little bit about me, but I was still a real green rookie, And I was 22 years old, like I said, and this is 1992 now. So yeah, 22 turning 23. So I'm in the locker room, and I was going in a match against Scott Sharkey, who was a power lifter from Buzzards Bay down the Cape. Real pretty boy guy, He's like, oh yeah, he's going around like this, bouncing his pecs, which I can still do now, by the way. And and he's bouncing his pecs, and you're looking at, he was looking at me. He didn't know me. I came down from Kentucky. You know what I mean? He didn't really know who I was. He's looking at me. He's like, I'm not 6 foot, so he's like, I ain't 6. He's kind of measuring me out. And someone said, guy's out of Kowalski's, pointing at me. And then the bodybuilder guy was kind of like, yeah, this goes with your answer, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
The bodybuilder guy was still thinking he was going to just basically pound me out there. It was in Fall River, Massachusetts, by the way. That was a town in the city. And before we go out to the ring announcer's running around getting weights and locations where you are from, your name, and he's doing the ring announcing. So they came over to me, and the ring announcer comes over to me like this, and he's like, where are you from, Kentucky? I said, no, I just got back from Kentucky. I said, I'm out this way. I said, Atlantic. So I was using Atlantic City, New Jersey, went with the gimmick. So I said, Atlantic City, New Jersey. I said, Joel Davis. And Sharky's like this, looking at me. He's like trying to intimidate me. Like, bro, you got the wrong guy, man. I'm thinking to myself. So this is true. I'm giving you the whole answer here.
Yeah.
So the promoter's standing there, right? Big fat fuck. He's standing there like this. He's like, Joe Davis, and I'm like, yeah, that's yeah. I just gave the ring announcer. He said, yeah, come on. He says, we heard about you. You beating the shit out of people and shit down there. He said, you're the real deal. So the ring announcer put down the real deal.
That's funny.
January 92. I went out to the ring against Scott Sharkey. He started coming out like throwing all these punches. I tuned the shit out of him. I beat him. I mean, it was like 4 or 5 minutes into the match. He was legitimately done. I took a steel chair and I cracked him with it. And he was already done. He was already done. I got the pin. I hit him with an elbow smash from the top rope. I still remember that place went crazy. Because I was flying, man. I was gonna remember I was a lot lighter and I was like, I flew with that elbow. Bang. Hit him with a chair first, then hit him with the elbow. The ring announcer grabs the mic, and the place was packed. There's a Bank Street Armory in Florida, Mass. The balconies and everything rich, right? Yeah. The ring announcer says, and your winner, the real deal, Joel Davis.
And I went like, and I just said, I yelled out, "The real deal!" And the fans were throwing paper cups and the real deal. And I've been the real deal ever since.
All right. The rest is history. I love it. Well, you mentioned Killer Kowalski several times, and I want to leave off this interview with one of his quotes. I think it's a great motivation for me, you, and everybody listening. He said, "Shoot for the moon. If you miss the moon, you'll hit a star."
He used to always say this in class, yeah, in training, yeah. He always would say that. Yeah, I knew you were going to say that one.
Yeah, I love that quote. Joel, you are the real deal. Definitely have to have you come back. An hour is way too short for everything that we need to talk about, so you got it.
Rich, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. We'll be in touch soon to find out when this airs so we can promote the hell out of it, because I love the way you promote. We're going to make this episode the biggest one ever in podcast history. That's our goal.
Let's do it, brother. Yeah, give me the new date, and I'll revise it on the Facebook event, and we'll do it from there. Rich, thanks again. I appreciate it, brother.
You're very welcome. Have a great night. That wraps up the latest episode of The Claw's Corner. A huge thanks goes out to boxer, wrestler, mixed martial artist, promoter, and comedian Joel, the real deal Davis, for taking time out of his extremely busy schedule to be a guest on my show. He will be back, I promise you that. A huge thanks also goes out to editor extraordinaire John Bristol of the award-winning Elman Productions for always doing a superb job editing this show each and every week and making it available to all on YouTube and Patreon. I am also extremely grateful to Rob Bull and Dale Coles for all they do to make my show available on Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, as well as a cable station in Connecticut. And lastly, but definitely not least, I need to thank you, the viewer, for always tuning in. Enjoy your day, everyone.
Now available in one collection. Confessions of a Frenetic Mind. 5 tales of blood-curdling terror. Available on Amazon and